Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today we're tackling a question many of you have asked us directly. Is Recursion Pharmaceuticals a good time to buy now? We're talking about Recursion Pharmaceuticals, the clinical stage biotech using AI and machine learning for drug discovery. Really fascinating stuff. If you find our insights valuable, please take a moment to subscribe, like, and maybe leave a comment below. And definitely, if there's a specific company you'd like us to look into for you, just let us know in the comments.
Yeah, it's a great question. Recursion, well, they certainly present an intriguing case. Their approach using tech in such a traditionally slow industry, it's undeniably compelling. To help you navigate that buy or not buy decision, we're going to cover quite a bit today. We'll start with their financial health, the fundamentals, then look at market performance, technicals, recent news,
Yeah.
what the insiders are doing, and crucially, potential catalysts, and of course, the risks. It's complex, but we'll break it down.
Okay, so let's peel back the layers then. Recursion. Lots of buzz around them, especially the AI angle. Can you start us off? What exactly are they trying to fix here, and how does their tech platform play into that?
Absolutely. The big problem in drug discovery, it's just so slow and expensive. Takes ages, costs billions, high failure rate. Recursion's trying to cut through that. Their core business isn't just pipettes and beakers. It's about using massive data sets, biological, chemical data, combined with AI and machine learning, to do two things, really. Find new disease targets faster and speed up getting drug candidates ready. They're trying to make drug discovery more systematic. Data-driven engineering, not just one-off experiments, but, and this is key, remember their clinical stage,
Right.
which means for you, the investor, their products are still in trials, still developing, not generating sales from drugs on shelves yet.
That clinical stage point is super important. So given they're basically pouring money into R&D, how does that show up in the financials, like revenue and maybe more telling their earnings or,
Yeah.
well, losses?
It impacts everything, really. So for full year 2024, they reported $76.1 million in revenue. That's a big jump, like 92% up from 2023's $39.6 million. These numbers are from their last 10K and recent updates as of early 2025, but that revenue growth, it's mostly from partnerships, collaborations, not drug sales.
Okay.
Now, the flip side, the net loss got bigger, $224.3 million in 2024 versus $195.6 million the year before. That's largely R&D expansion, building the platform, running trials, plus some acquisition costs.
Makes sense. Investing phase.
Exactly. And honestly, these deep negative margins, continued losses, analysts expect that through at least 2026.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty standard for pre-revenue biotechs focused heavily on R&D. So takeaway, Recursion's aggressively investing, no clear path to profit soon, you're betting on the future breakthroughs here.
That aggressive investment needs fuel, right? It needs capital. So this brings us to a critical point for any company like this. How strong are they financially? Given the cash burn, what's their cash situation?
Yeah, their financial resilience is surprisingly one of their stronger points for a company at this stage. As of end of 2024, they had $376 million in cash and equivalents. More recently, Q2 2025, they updated that to a pretty robust $533.8 million.
Wow, okay.
That gives them a significant runway, operationally speaking, should last well into late 2027 based on current burn rates.
Well, that's a decent cushion.
It really is. Buys them critical time without immediate pressure for, another big capital raise. And debt, very low, around $7 million. That's excellent for a growth company.
And the burn rate itself.
Their cash used in operations was about $184 million for 2024. Oh, and worth mentioning, in August 2025, they did issue some shares, about 2.4 million, for an ENPP1 joint venture milestone. Brought in about $12.5 million, valued around $5.21 a share, the average price at the time.
Okay, so connecting the dots here. While they're losing money consistently, which is expected, the main thing is they've bought themselves time. Significant runway into late 2027. But there's still a clock ticking, right? They need to deliver clinical progress. So the balance sheet looks relatively strong for where they are. Low debt, substantial cash, gives them breathing room.
Exactly right. That runway is essential. Lets them fund the R&D without immediate dilution fears hanging over them. But, and it's a big but, you have to remember they still depend on external funding down the line. Partnerships, milestone payments, maybe future equity raises. So yeah, future capital raises are still likely unless those partners or their pipeline starts bringing in serious, consistent revenue. It's just the nature of the beast for these high-growth R&D shops, buying time and talent.
Right. So the balance sheet is okay for now, but it highlights that investment phase. But in this fast-moving biotech world, money isn't everything. What actually makes Recursion stand out? And who are they up against? Sounds like a tough field.
It absolutely is. What sets Recursion apart is really their core tech. the Recursion operating system. It combines automated lab work, robotics basically, with their machine learning and this massive growing data set they're building internally.
Generating their own data.
Exactly. One of the world's largest biological and chemical data sets generated in-house. That fuels the AI. That's their edge. And they've been making moves. July, August 2025, they bought the rest of the ENPP1 venture, half of RE Ventures a high, bulking up. Then September 2025, they got full rights to REV102 from Rally Bio. That's a strategic push into rare genetic diseases.
Interesting.
But yeah, the competition is fierce. You've got other AI biotechs like Schrödinger, Exscientia, Relay Therapeutics, all smart companies vying for similar ground. And crucially, Recursion's pipeline is still early stage. No phase 3 or commercial assets announced yet. So the tech has promise, but it still needs to prove itself in late-stage trials.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Talk about the stock itself. How's it been behaving? What are the technicals telling us? So recently, say early September 2025, it was trading between roughly $4.75 and 35 cents. Looking at the chart, seems like there's decent support around $4.60 to $4.80 and some resistance overhead near $5.40, $5.60. Moving averages, the 50-day and 200-day both kind of pointing slightly down. Prices near the 50-day, but below the 200-day, not exactly bullish signals there. And the RSI, Relative Strength Index, kind of neutral, mid-40s to low 50s, suggests a lack of strong momentum either way right now. One thing that does jump out is the volatility. Seems higher than average for biotech. Moves over 5% on news aren't uncommon. Low float, maybe? Speculative interest?
That volatility is definitely a key feature, and yeah, it's often news-driven. And Recursion's had plenty of news lately. September 2025, stock popped about 7% after that REV102 acquisition news and then presenting at a couple of big investor conferences. Always good for visibility. Back in August, Q2 earnings. They highlighted a $7 million milestone from Sanofi. Revenue grew to $19.2 million from $14.4 million year over year. Plus, they talked about progress in programs like REC1245, REC617, standard updates. But June 2025, that was bigger news. Positive phase 12 results for REC4881 showed a 43% median reduction in polyp burden for a rare condition, familial adenomatous polyposis. That drove the stock up over 12%.
Significant result.
Yeah, and they also mentioned advancing their integration with Exscientia, trying to accelerate that AI discovery engine. What all this shows is just how sensitive these clinical stage stocks are to data and milestones.
Yeah.
Positive results validate the future pipeline, moves the stock, much more than current earnings.
Okay, what about insiders? What are the execs doing? Can we read anything into their activity?
Always worth looking at.
Yeah.
In August 2025, the CFO, Ben Taylor, sold about 12,000 shares. But importantly, that was flagged for tax withholding, usually non-discretionary.
Oh, okay. Tax.
Yeah. CEO Chris Gibson also sold shares. 100,000 at $4.84, another 500,000 or so at $5.28. But again, crucial context, these were mostly under 10b5-1 plans or for taxes. Pre-scheduled sales set up way in advance. So not necessarily a sign of sudden lost confidence. What we haven't seen are big discretionary insider buys. That would be a stronger positive signal.
Got it.
Analyst consensus. Generally a hold. They see the potential, but they also point to the delayed revenue and the high cash burn risk. Investor sentiment seems kind of neutral to slightly negative overall. And yeah, volatility is still the name of the game here.
All right, let's pivot to the future then. What could actually move this stock going forward? What are the catalysts investors should have on their radar?
Short term, the next big scheduled thing is probably Q3 earnings, expected around November 12, 2025. Stocks like this often get choppy around earnings before and after as the market reacts to results and guidance. Also, keep an eye out for potential news on that EMTP1 pipeline in Q4. Any new data or milestones there could definitely move the needle.
Any other near-term stuff?
Yeah, things like ETF rebalancing, that's around October 10th, could mean fund buying or selling. Institutional 13F filings around November 5th show what the big funds are doing, and potential inclusion in biotech indices, maybe December 4th. That can force index funds to buy. Longer term, though, the real catalysts are advancing drugs further into clinical trials. Probably looking at 2026 or later for pivotal data, and landing any new big strategic partnerships or collaborations.
That brings up an interesting point. Beyond the known events, what about the speculation, the rumors? What ifs are floating around?
Good question, because in this space, rumors can definitely drive short-term moves. There's always chatter about potentially expanded deals with big pharma, maybe Recursion deepens ties with Sanofi or Roche or brings in someone new. That would be huge.
Right, validation.
Exactly. There's also speculation about new drug candidates emerging from that Exscientia partnership, something totally novel popping out of the AI pipeline. Traders are definitely watching for signs of institutional buying, maybe big block trades ahead of those index events you mentioned. trying to front-run the funds, and just general industry buzz. You hear Recursion mentioned sometimes as a potential M&A target or attracting more big equity investment because their data platform is pretty unique. It's all speculation, of course, but for a stock like Recursion, this kind of chatter matters. It fuels trading and shows where market attention might be focused. Worth tracking these narratives.
Okay, but let's talk risk. No investment is risk-free, especially not biotech. What are the big red flags or concerns for Recursion?
Definitely several key risks on the company-specific side. First, the obvious one. They're losing money and expect to keep losing money for the foreseeable future, as they put it in their filings. Cash burn continues.
Standard for the stage, but still a risk.
Absolutely. Then there's clinical and regulatory risk. All their candidates are early stage. Trial failures happen all the time in biotech, and a big failure could hammer the valuation. And this is a critical one. Their 2024 audit included an adverse opinion on internal controls over financial reporting.
Ooh, that doesn't sound good.
It's not ideal. It was reported in an 8K filing in August 2025. Basically raises questions about how reliable their financial reporting processes are, their internal checks and balances. That's a serious point investors need to weigh. Suggests potential weaknesses.
And zooming out, what about broader market or sector risks, things beyond Recursion's direct control?
Oh yeah, plenty of those.
Yeah.
Biotech as a sector is super sensitive to the overall market mood. Recursion specifically is vulnerable to sector rotation money moving out of biotech negative clinical news from competitors or just general risk-off sentiment where investors flee higher-risk assets.
Yeah, biotech can swing wildly.
For sure. And the competition isn't standing still. Other AI drug discovery firms are scaling fast. Recursion's tech edge, it's strong now, but it's not guaranteed forever. The landscape can change quickly with new breakthroughs or partnerships elsewhere. It's a constant race.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. What does this all mean for you, the listener? Bringing it all together, after weighing everything, we're landing on an overall rating of 4 out of 10 for Recursion Pharmaceuticals right now.
Yeah, that 4 out of 10 reflects that tricky balance. Positives. They definitely have strong cash reserves, a good runway, and that AI-driven model is ambitious, potentially transformative, real strengths there. However, it is absolutely still a speculative investment. Why? Continued cash burn, pre-revenue status, and that pipeline uncertainty, everything's still pretty early stage.
The insider sales, even if pre-planned, don't help sentiment. The lack of late-stage programs is a big factor. And that negative audit finding on internal controls, that adds significant caution, even with a decent balance sheet. So our view, probably better suited for short-term tactical trading around specific news or momentum for those comfortable with high risk. Not really recommended for a long-term buy and hold until you see clear late-stage clinical success or some kind of commercial validation. The volatility and sector risks just demand caution.
The promise of AI in drug discovery is huge, no doubt, and Recursion is right there at the cutting edge. But that road from cool tech to a successful, profitable drug is incredibly long and, frankly, littered with failures. For Recursion, these next few years are really crunch time, testing the scalability, the strength of their platform and pipeline. So here's a thought for you. What advancements or partnerships do you think will be the most critical for their long-term success? We'd genuinely love to hear your perspective on that. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Recursion Pharmaceuticals. We really appreciate you tuning in. If you found value in this analysis, maybe hit that like button, subscribe for more episodes like this, and please leave a comment, let us know your thoughts, or suggest other companies you'd like us to look into next time. Thanks again.